Alexander the Great, also known as Alexander III of Macedon, was the king of Macedonia from 336 to 323 BC. He was the conqueror of the Persian Empire and is considered to be one of the greatest military geniuses of all times. Born as the son of Philip II, king of Macedonia, he spent his early years observing the administration of his father and witnessed how the king transformed Macedonia into a great military power. Brave and courageous from an early age, Alexander first displayed his prowess when he successfully tamed an unruly stallion when he was just 12. As a young boy, he had the good fortune of being tutored by the great Greek philosopher, Aristotle, who imbibed in Alexander a love for knowledge and stimulated his interest in the fields of science, medicine, literature, and philosophy. Alexander ascended the throne at the age of 20 following the assassination of his father. His father had been a great conqueror, and being his son, Alexander was determined to take forward his legacy. He embarked on a sere. What were Alexander the Great's major military accomplishments? Alexander the Great conquered the Persian Empire, Egypt, and parts of India, creating one of the largest empires in ancient history. How did Alexander the Great die? Alexander the Great died in 323 BC in Babylon at the age of 32, likely due to either illness or poisoning. What was the significance of Alexander the Great's conquests? Alexander's conquests spread Greek culture and Hellenistic civilization across the vast territories he conquered, influencing the regions for centuries to come. What was Alexander the Great's leadership style? Alexander was known for his strategic brilliance, inspiring leadership, and ability to lead by example on the battlefield, earning the loyalty and respect of his soldiers. How did Alexander the Great change the world? Alexander's conquests reshaped the political, cultural, and social landscape of the ancient world, leading to the spread of Greek culture and the blending of Eastern and Western influences. Alexander is believed to have been born on July 20, 356 BC in Pella, the capital of the Kingdom of Macedon. He was the son of the king of Macedon, Philip II, and his fourth wife Olympias, the daughter of Neoptolemus I, king of Epirus. As a child, he learned to read, write, ride, fight, and hunt, as was typical for sons of noble birth in that era. He grew up to be a brave boy and tamed an unruly horse when he was just 12 years old. The horse, named Bucephalus, became his favorite horse and served him for several years. King Philip asked the great philosopher Aristotle to teach Alexander and provided the Temple of the Nymphs at Mysa as a classroom. Aristotle tutored Alexander and the children of Macedonian nobles in subjects like medicine, philosophy, morals, religion, logic, and art. Under his tutelage, Alexander also developed a love for literature. I generated an image with the prompt, dramatic ancient battle scene with Alexander the Great on a rearing white horse, wearing armor and a red cape, wielding a sword, leading troops at a river crossing, soldiers in ancient armor with shields, spears, swords, chaotic battle background, intense atmosphere. King Philip was assassinated by the captain of his bodyguards, Pausanias, in 336 BC. Alexander, just 20 years old at that time, was proclaimed king by the nobles and army. Upon ascending the throne, he set upon eliminating all his domestic enemies and potential rivals to the throne. He and his mother ordered the execution of his cousins and step-siblings who they considered to be threats. The news of King Philip's death sparked a series of rebellion from the Thebes, Athens, Thessaly, and the Thracian tribes north of Macedon. Alexander gathered a Macedonian cavalry of 3,000 and forced the Thessalian army to surrender. He was also successful in defeating the Thracian tribes. In 334 BC, Alexander the Great led his army in the Battle of the Granicus River fought against the Persian Empire. Displaying great valor and courage, he defeated the forces of the Persian satraps of Asia Minor. Following this victory, he accepted the surrender of the Persian provincial capital and treasury of Sardis. Alexander's Macedonian army encountered the Persian forces under the command of King Darius III himself at a mountain pass at Issus in northwestern Syria in 333 BC. Even though Darius' army greatly outnumbered Alexander's, the conflict, known as the Battle of Issus, culminated in a big victory for Alexander. Following the battle, Alexander captured Darius' wife, Statira I, his daughters, Statira II and Repetus, and his mother Sisygambes, and treated all the captured women very respectfully. Alexander entered Egypt in the beginning of 331 BC. He besieged Gaza on his way to Egypt and conquered Egypt very easily. In Egypt, he founded Alexandria by Egypt, a city designed as a hub for Greek culture and commerce. Alexander and his army marched into India in 327 BC, launching a campaign into the northwestern Indian subcontinent, present-day Pakistan. By this time he had become very ambitious and desired to conquer the entire known world, which the Greeks thought ended in northwestern India. The greatest of Alexander's battles in India was the Battle of the Hydaspes River against King Porus of the Paurava kingdom on the banks of the Hydaspes River in Punjab in 326. The Macedonians emerged victorious and annexed Punjab. He wanted to advance further in India and forged eastward to the Ganges, where the Nanda Empire of Magadha was situated. However, his army was exhausted by years of fighting and refused to march further. In response to the pleadings of his general Cenas, Alexander decided to return home. Back in Babylon, Alexander began making plans for a series of new campaigns. But he never got the chance to embark on another campaign, as he died shortly afterwards. Major works. Alexander the Great is considered one of history's most successful military commanders, and is credited to have created one of the largest empires of the ancient world. He led the Greeks in the conquest of Persia, and after warring for several years finally overthrew the Persian king Darius III and conquered the Achaemenid Empire. Personal life and legacy. He fell in love with Roxana, daughter of the Bactrian nobleman Oxyartes, and married her. He had another wife, Statira II, a Persian princess and daughter of Darius III of Persia, who he married for political reasons. In addition to his wives, he had several other female companions. Roxana gave birth to his son a few months after his death. Alexander died in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar II in Babylon at age 32 in June 323 BC. The details surrounding his death are obscure. One account states that he developed a fever after a night of drinking and died as a result after some days. According to another account, he became weak after drinking unmixed wine and died in agony. Facts about Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was known for his love of learning and was a student of Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers of his time. Alexander was known for his impressive military tactics and strategies, often using innovative methods to defeat his enemies. He was a skilled horseman and formed a close bond with his horse Bucephalus, which he rode into many battles. Alexander was also a patron of the arts and encouraged the blending of different cultures in his empire, leading to a flourishing of artistic and intellectual pursuits during his reign. Great achievements at a young age. Alexander became king of Macedonia in 336 BC at the age of 20 and immediately began a great campaign against the Persian Empire. During this campaign, he conquered and controlled a wide area from Asia to Egypt and India. Student of Aristotle, Alexander was educated by the famous philosopher Aristotle in his youth. This education broadened his cultural and scientific interests and was effective in spreading Hellenistic culture in the lands he conquered. Knot of Gordion. In the city of Gordion in Anatolia, legend had it that whoever could untie the knot of Gordion would become the master of Asia. Alexander solved this problem by cutting the knot with his sword instead of untying it, and this event became a symbol of his determination and direct solutions. Spread of Hellenistic culture. During Alexander's campaigns, Greek culture and language, Koine Greek, spread over a wide geographical area. This marked the beginning of a cultural golden age known as the Hellenistic period, a mixture of Western and Eastern cultures. Death and mystery. Alexander died in Babylon in 323 BC, at the age of 32. The cause of his death is still unknown. There are various theories such as poisoning, disease, or alcoholism. After his death, his empire was divided among his generals and the Diadochi, heirs period began, during which the empire was fragmented.